What up, is K-Way? I'm back with another video. This one is different. This is going to be a reaction video. I didn't really expect myself to start, getting political, but honestly, it's with everything going on, it doesn't make sense, like, not to touch on some of the stuff. And on the latest episode of the shit show that we call America, or the United States, whatever you want to call it, the latest episode of Shit Show, Trump has made comments about deporting U.S. citizens. I think it had to be like 11:30 this morning where I saw this news. It didn't say that in the headline. It was MSNBC. There's a video from MSNBC I'm going to actually show you guys. It says, Trump exposed in hot mic moment, planning further abuse of power. Crazy times we living in, like historic times. I'm tired of the historic events, bro. Just like that meme.
You listen closely, you can just make out what the president is saying as he enters the Oval Office today with the president of El Salvador.
Criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Laughter all around. That was Donald Trump today talking to the president of El Salvador, a man who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. And you could hear there what sounded like Trump promising that he's about to send to a prison in El Salvador the, quote, homegrowns, meaning U.S. citizens. He says homegrowns are next. You're going to need to build about 5 new places. The Trump administration has flown hundreds of non-U.S. citizens to this foreign prison in El Salvador already, including 10 more that they flew there this weekend. Even though the U.S. government has sent these people to this prison, the Trump administration says they have no protection under U.S. law there, that this facility doesn't answer to U.S. courts. The people sent there are just gone. They're sent into that prison maybe forever with no way to be heard, no way to contest whatever the designation was that got the U.S. government to send them there. Certainly no way to get out, ever.
That's complete BS, complete bullshit, because you mean to tell me that this guy was elected because everybody had the belief he can just do whatever he wanted, but the time where it comes to actually doing something that he doesn't want to, or will obviously hesitate about doing, he can't do it. All of a sudden, he's powerless. Even though the United States is still one of the superpowers of the world, we can't get back someone who was wrongfully deported. We have this great relationship with El Salvador, with the El Salvadorian president, where we can send him prisoners for a profit, obviously, for a profit. That's the other thing. All of this is human trafficking. This is human trafficking. That's the part that has not been said about all of this is going on. That's the part that has not been acknowledged. This is human trafficking. We're selling people, including people who aren't even from El Salvador. Venezuelans are being sent to El Salvador. Venezuelans are not from El Salvador. So we're deporting people we don't even have the decency to deport them to their homeland, where even though the person in question, who was Kilmar Abrego Garcia is El Salvadorian. Trump and the president over there is claiming they can't release him, even though they have full authority. There are two presidents of both countries involved, and they can't bring him back, even though he was wrongfully deported. That's bullshit. These people have the power to do virtually whatever they want to, but they can't release a prisoner. We literally watched Trump pardon insurrectionists, but the El Salvadorian president can't release somebody who was wrongfully placed in a maximum security prison. It's a lie, obviously, if that wasn't, duh. But, man, hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Are homegrowns really next? Would the American president send American citizens to indefinite, totally lawless, apparently permanent imprisonment in El Salvador as well? Is he open to that? Apparently, yes, he is.
If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying. If we can do that, that's good. And
if we can do that, that's good. Pam, meaning Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. So he wants to send American citizens to foreign prisons where U.S. legal protections don't apply at all, where people can be held for the rest of their lives without ever having a day in court or any sort of process. He says Attorney General Pam Bondi is, quote, studying the laws right now to see if he really could do it because he'd love to do it. It was only last week on Thursday when the Supreme Court ruled unanimously 9-0 in favor of a man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's a legal resident. He's a Maryland father. The Trump administration admits they sent him to that prison in El Salvador by mistake. The Supreme Court effectively ordered the Trump administration to facilitate this man's return to the U.S. from that El Salvadoran prison without explicitly defining what that would look like. The Trump administration has insisted that they can't return him, and they don't intend to. They said that the man's fate is up to the president of El Salvador for some reason. Today in the Oval Office, it was a reporter who finally asked El Salvador's president if he would please return this man to the United States. The El Salvadoran president called the question, quote, preposterous. Of course he wouldn't. So we have here
the president, since he's been in office, has been going around doing just about whatever he wanted to. But in this case, he's completely powerless. Okay. In the middle of me watching this video, before we even got to the part about Kilmar, when he was talking about deporting United States citizens, I was working at a school. And this old black dude came in. And he's like, oh, that guy wasn't... We didn't even get to this part. That guy wasn't even a citizen. He was a resident. Like, he's a resident. He was from El Salvador. Like, bro. I responded. I'm like, that's besides the point. He had an order put in place that said, do not deport him to El Salvador because his life is in danger. But he don't have the rights that we do. He's not a citizen. The Constitution doesn't protect him. He doesn't have constitutional rights. The Constitution says that even immigrants who lawfully enter the country have constitutional rights, including the right to due process. And if you don't believe me, which you have no reason not to believe me, but if for some reason I just sound like a liar to you, I looked at the official site for Congress. Constitution.congress.gov is the official site for United States legislation. So not only has the news said this, but when I went to this site, listen to what it says. It says, the Congress shall have power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States or any other department or officer thereof. In 1903, the court in the Japanese immigrant case, reviewed the legality of deporting an alien who had lawfully entered the United States, clarifying that an alien who has entered the country and has become subject in all respects to his jurisdiction and a part of his population could not be deported without an opportunity to be heard upon the questions involving his right to be and remain in the United States. In the decades that followed, the Supreme Court maintained the notion that once an alien lawfully enters and resides in this country, he becomes invested with the rights guaranteed by the Constitution to all people within our borders. Eventually, the Supreme Court extended these constitutional protections to all aliens within the United States, including those who entered lawfully, declaring that aliens who have once passed through our gates, even illegally, may be expelled only after proceedings conforming to the traditional standards of fairness encompassed in due process of law. So even if somebody comes here illegally, they are entitled to due process according to the Constitution. So that, besides that just being a morally terrible argument, that you could think about it. Think about if the United States was a country where you could legally come here, but the government can find literally any reason to just kick you out. Any reason. Without due process. You can't see no lawyer. You can't explain yourself. It's just one person, one official calls you out and they're like, oh, you got to get out of here. Think about that. Would we even be America? No, we wouldn't. That's why that's in the Constitution. Secondly, the thing that people are not realizing about this is that if the president is violating the Constitution for immigrants, this is a trial run for doing this to citizens. If he can ignore the Constitution when it comes to immigrants, what makes you think that you as a citizen, you would be exempt? According to the Constitution, they got the same rights that we do to a degree, some of the same rights. So if that's being violated, if he's blatantly ignoring the Constitution that protects you, what makes you think that you bulletproof, that you just immune, that you protected? Like nothing. And it's a shit moral argument. Anybody who sits up and is like, oh, that's fine because they're not from here. That's not right, bro. That's not right. That's not right. That's very un-American. And those would be the main ones claiming, oh, they love America and blah, blah, blah. That's the most un-American thing.
So we have here a constitutional nightmare, a legal nightmare, obviously a moral nightmare. Cheryl Eiffel is the former president of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. She has been sounding the alarm about this. She has argued that Trump will start testing constitutional limits by trying to deport U.S. citizens from American prisons to places like El Salvador, and that Americans, in order to stop that slippery slope where it is, must take on the challenge of caring about and standing up for U.S. prisoners. Quote, many of us have been working on how to legally head off this nightmare, but public outcry and support will be essential. Are you ready to march for the most despised members of our society? Will you call your representatives about those who are imprisoned? If you can't feel for them or their families, remember that this is just a stage in a plan that will land ultimately at our own doorsteps. Every one of us deemed inconvenient by this administration will be under threat. And every time Trump is successful, he grows more emboldened and more convinced that nothing can stop him. Joining us now is Sherrilyn Ifill. She's the Vernon E. Jordan Jr. Distinguished Chair in Civil Rights at Howard Law School. Ms. Ifill, it's been too long. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It's an honor to have you with us. This is an end of constitutional protections in the United States in a really fundamental way. That was before today's Oval Office meeting where the president very cheerfully confirmed that, oh, yes, he's talking about doing this to U.S. citizens, too. Is the president actually moving faster than you thought he might? Are you at least pleased that the American public have to see this as clearly now as you have been?
I've been sounding the alarm because Trump has been saying it over and over. In fact, he started out when his family first met with the president of El Salvador a couple of months ago. And he said then that the president of El Salvador was interested in housing U.S. prisoners. He said it again the other night as he was exiting or entering his plane. I don't remember which one it was, where he talked about this again. He said, you know, for our worst of the worst, people who knock old ladies over the head, people who push people in front of subway trains, or if you had a bad judge and a bad prosecutor who didn't do the case right because they only care about politics. He's been repeating this over and over again. He tweeted that he can't wait to see people who attack Teslas face incarceration in El Salvadoran prisons.
Boom. Exactly. That's exactly. Sherrilyn is making complete and total sense. She knows what the fuck she's talking about. She knows what she's talking about. This is exactly what I mean. And then the other thing about that conversation with the guy that I spoke to earlier, right? He got flustered when I had like counter arguments or when I questioned where his source was, which he said Pam Bondi, the attorney general, as if like that means she's going to be truthful just because she's in that position that Trump elected her to. Of course she's going to do and say whatever he wants her to do. She was put there by him. He just sounded like he listened to a lot of Fox News. But moving on. Anyway, I explained to him, like, yo, that's besides the point. The video that I'm actually watching, that you saw me watching a minute ago, he's talking about deporting United States citizens, well, prisoners, criminals, still citizens. Oh, man. He was like, oh, man. He's just joking. He's just joking. He's not joking, bro. Anytime you hear somebody repeating the same thing over again, months apart, especially someone in a position of power like the president, that's not a joke. He's actually looking into it. He's considering it. He wants to do it. He said the president of El Salvador was open to it. How is that a joke? That's what's got me so fucked up. Like, even when he said it in the White House, in the Oval Office, and them people started laughing after he said that. It's not a joke. There's nothing funny about it. That's the thing. It's not even us. The people who are supporting his agenda are downplaying everything that he says and does as if he's not serious, or it doesn't form some kind of threat to the common person. If I say, yeah, I'm gonna smash your girl. Yeah, man, I hit your girl. And then months later, I say it again, bro. Man, I tear your girl up. And then months later, I said again, you know what? Hey, she was looking nice. And honestly, I've been talking to her, and I'm want to just research, she homegrown. She grew up in Detroit, so she homegrown, and I kind of want that. Would you think I'm joking? Would you think that I'm joking? I keep looking at the screen. I'm sorry. I'm not looking at the camera. Would you think that I'm joking? That is not a joke. And what people aren't understand is, like Sherlyn was saying, it's a trickle down. If he starts doing that to prisoners, right, to criminals, people who hit people over the head, there's nothing suggesting that there will be any kind of limit to the people that he's choosing to do that to. Pretty much anybody would be labeled a criminal. First of all, the president himself is a criminal. So in terms of identifying who is and isn't a criminal, he wouldn't be a reliable source for that. His compass when it comes to criminality is already skewed by default because he's committed crimes. He's convicted. So the idea that a rat could call out other rats to exterminate is crazy to me. And it's like she said, he's been talking about how he's designated people who vandalize Teslas as terrorists. So if they're terrorists for vandalizing a Tesla, what makes you think they wouldn't deport alleged terrorists to El Salvador without due process at that? Because he's already done it to illegal immigrants, or not even illegal immigrants in general, even lawful immigrants. So you think he wouldn't just start deporting citizens without due process on the basis of we think they committed a crime? Just take our word for it. This man is a liar. He's been lying since his first term. He lied about building a wall. He's lied about so much. He lied to all the people who voted for him about his plans to give them more money. We not seeing no returns on that. Or even in terms of cutting spending. He spent billions of dollars already playing golf and paying Elon Musk. Don't get me started, bro.
And by now, we know Trump a little bit. We know that when he keeps saying something over and over again, he is not joking. We know that he is incapable of holding his cards close to his chest when they are having discussions about these things. And we've seen two new reports. One was in Politico this weekend about plans. One is Stephen Miller's plan to do a mass denaturalization of naturalized U.S. citizens who are incarcerated. We saw, can you believe it, the name Eric Prince again, who apparently is involved in an effort to use private prisons in El Salvador and in other countries, with the U.S. perhaps entering into a treaty of cession, something I really think about when I think about maybe getting Alaska from Russia, a treaty of cession so that the U.S. would control the territory in that country, and therefore there could be no claim that U.S. citizens were being moved off of U.S. soil. It's crazy and diabolical, but it's real.
President continually says he doesn't understand, doesn't really care about, wants to find out whether or not it's legal. It's being looked into. What is she going to find when she looks into U.S. case law and constitutional protections to find whether or not this is something that they could legally do?
Well, it's a strange thing. If she didn't find the Fifth Amendment that says every person in the United States, person, not citizen, is entitled to due process of law, cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process, which should have stopped the deportation of Mr. Abregu Garcia and others who received no due process. I'm not sure what she's likely to find with this look. I think there are two things to think about here. One is that, as almost everyone knows, there are nearly 2 million people incarcerated in the United States. Most of them are in state prisons, not in federal prison. The person who assaulted the old lady is most likely not in federal prison. There are about 200,000 people in our federal prisons. So I'm not sure the population that Trump is looking at, if it is the state prison population, that creates complications for him. And in any case, we have a constitution that prevents cruel and unusual punishment, sending folks here who are incarcerated to what has been identified as a torture prison, as a prison that the warden of CICOT in El Salvador said is the prison no one ever leaves. That is simply a violation of the constitutional rights of prisoners. Prisoners who are citizens of this country are United States citizens, and they have the rights of citizens.
Y'all know something interesting? I saw something on Twitter that it directly expresses the thoughts and opinions of the founding fathers, bro. Like, it's like the founding fathers time travel. Oh, I want to give credit to Theo Jeffy. He posted this screenshot of the Declaration of Independence, and I retweeted it. It's in the Declaration of Independence. It's a line, a few lines. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, both things that Trump has done so far, both things. For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, he's doing that right now. And for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. So this is definitely un-American and unconstitutional. Definitely un-American and unconstitutional. Nothing about that is the greatest president ever. Nothing. It's criminal. It's quite literally criminal. He's violating the Constitution. Honestly, he should be impeached. Like, that process should have already started by now. It may have. Maybe it's just a slow process. But nothing he's been doing so far has been legal. Well, this tweet says from Popbase. Home Alone 2 director Chris Columbus says he wants Donald Trump's cameo removed. I just wish it was gone. I can't cut it. If I cut it, I'll probably be sent out of the country. That's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. That's where we hit it. The spookiest part about this, people have not done their research. Like, we got a lot of people who voted for him that don't know American history or world history. At first, when people would say, like, oh, he's the next Hitler, I'm like, I used to look at it with a squint. Like, I see some of the rhetoric part, but in terms of actually setting things in motion, I don't know. But at this point, he is the United States version of Hitler. Because he's making a deal. He's made a deal with a foreign government for punishing political opponents or people he deems as criminals without due process. So there's nothing verifying that they actually are criminals. There's nothing verifying that they did anything wrong. And they're in a foreign government on top of that, foreign land, foreign prison. That's a maximum security prison that the president said nobody ever escapes. Right? If that isn't scary enough, this is a similar thing that happened with Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany, I read on Twitter today that it turns out probably all of the concentration camps from Nazi Germany weren't even in Nazi Germany. They were in Poland. Let me verify this. Holocaust Encyclopedia. Killing centers in German-occupied Poland, 1942. The concentration camps were not in Germany. They were in another country. And our president right now is making a deal with another country to send his prisoners there, where these people cannot be monitored, not by U.S. citizens. We can't go over there and protest, not by journalists. And he's just going to fall on the excuse of, hey, I don't have any authority there. They're the president. We have nothing to do with that. We're not the president. It's out of my jurisdiction, which is a lie. But he's going to use this in the future. And there's no telling. Even in that video we just watched from MSNBC, they said it's a torture prison. What sounds just about a torture prison? People with no due process who are very, very much probably innocent, likely innocent, considering that there's no due process. If somebody's really guilty, you're going to give them due process. Innocent people have been sent over to El Salvador in a torture prison. This is terrifying. This is terrifying, and it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. I feel for everybody that's been sent over there very strongly. I feel for all the people that are being hunted down by ICE. I feel for all of them. It's fucked up out here. And I would just exclude the people who voted for him. Like, if you voted for him and you facing some kind of punishment, including being, or not even voted, but supported him. If you supported him and this is happening to you, this is what you supported. It's been right in your face, in front of your face this whole time. And this is what you supported.
Why is no one talking about how dangerous Donald Trump's largest deportation operation would be? The one he says he wants to model after President Eisenhower's Operation Wetback?
Following the Eisenhower model, we will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
President Eisenhower's Operation Wetback, which is the current largest mass deportation operation in American history, deported more than 1.3 million people, including U.S. citizens. It was full of civil rights violations. People were deported into dangerous conditions. Some people were literally left stranded on deserts, and some people died. The fact that he says he wants to model this is alarming. He also says he wants to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to help him conduct this large deportation operation. That has only been used 3 times in American history, and what it does is it allows the federal government to detain and deport anyone who is not a U.S. citizen who they believe is deemed from an enemy nation. The last time it was used in American history, more than 100,000 Japanese people, most of which were U.S. citizens, were taken into internment camps.
The thing that's really shocking to me is that I know people who don't speak English as their first language, who are from South America, that really believe he was our best option. Quiet as a mouse about everything that's going on right now. They were loud when he was running for president, but now that he's there, I don't hear anything. Like, it's just ridiculous, bro. And then I read like 61% of Latino Americans voted for him. That is quite literally Jews for Hitler. I don't know if y'all ever saw that, but the whole Jews for Hitler thing, Mexicans for Trump, is ridiculous. Mexicans for Trump shouldn't have been a thing. His whole campaign, the first time around, was about prosecuting y'all.
Latinos for Trump, I love that. Give me that sign. Where are you from?
I'm from Colombia.
Colombia. And is this a setup? Did I ever meet you before? Huh?
I'm Hispanic and I vote for Mr. Trump. We vote for Mr. Trump.
Yes. What do you think about Trump's border policy?
I love it. I love it. I'm 100% for it.
Do you know anybody that can cross the border without applying for green card?
Oh yes. Unfortunately, I have family members that did. Cousins, nephews, nieces.
Because those people might be deported if Donald Trump wins.
That's okay. That's okay.
How long have they been here for?
Years, like 20, some like 30 years.
And so you think that members of your own family who've been here for 30 years should be deported?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they can be deported, but they can also apply to come back again to the United States, but do it the right way.
How do you think they would feel about you saying that?
Oh, they would be very angry. They are angry at me right now. They don't talk to me because I support Trump.
We got LGBTQ plus people supporting him. We got Muslims who supported him. No idea why. He literally had a Muslim ban his first term. He literally put out a Muslim ban, but it's like everybody forgot. Everybody got rose-tinted glasses. It says, I hate Latinos for Trump so bad. Look what you're doing to innocent people. He's literally begging for the Mexican president's help because they're treating them like shit. Message from somebody.
Por favor, que esto se haga viral. Esto está pasando ya mismo en el centro de detención Crom en Miami, Florida. Estamos prácticamente secuestrados. Hay personas que llevan más de 30 días y no han sido procesadas. Por favor, que esto se haga viral. Ayúdenos, marquen la Comisión Nacional de Derechos Humanos.
But apparently he's begging for help. His whole campaign the first time around was build a wall. But Spanish-speaking people think that he likes them, that he's your friend. Okay, be delusional.
Trump, who ran a campaign with one of the... I have a question for the rest of America.
Pretty much all we can do at this point is protest, make our voices heard. We're in danger. The Constitution is in danger. This is becoming unbecoming America. It's a gradual decay of the Constitution and what America stands for. Yeah. The most we can do is make our voices heard, contact your state representatives, Congress, protest, do all those things, talk about it, educate people. Because everybody has no problem with it until it's them. Literally, nobody has a problem with it until it's them. Just like the farmers, just like the immigrants who supported this guy, just like a lot of the women who supported this guy, just like the people who worked in government or had family who worked in government but were fired because of what Musk did. They didn't think nothing would happen to them either until it happened to them. That black guy, fellow African-American gentleman that I spoke with today, who was just rambling, he doesn't understand until it affects him. And I just really hope people wake up before it's too late. I really do. This is not normal at all. Please comment your thoughts. Please share this video, like this video, subscribe. Yeah, man, I had to touch on this, bro. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Like, this is turning into Nazi Germany real fast. Like, it's too many people defending authoritarianism, which is basically the government or one single person can do whatever the fuck they want. Like, we don't even know what America is. We're disillusioned. It's like, it's because of the white people, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not just trying to jump to straight to blaming white people. It's not all of them, but it's the people. That's what his momentum was built on. It was built on the hurt feelings of not just white people, but ignorant people, ignorant white men, ignorant man, misogynists, racists, homophobic people, all those people. It was built on them feeling like they were undercut or they were sidelined, and they're just being delusional and thinking that this is the way, this is going to solve everything, and it's really just fucking everything up. Y'all messing everything up for everybody. Because everything that was going on, it was in pursuit of equity. And now you're going into opposite direction where you're giving all the power to one person and nobody can do shit. You're just making stuff worse. It's crabs in a barrel, bro. Crabs in a barrel. America is like, it's like nobody can win. If I have to take any kind of inconvenience, I'm bringing you down with me. It's terrible, but in a sense, it's almost like what capitalism is made of. It's selfish. Everybody is so selfish. Everybody, so selfish. Even the people I didn't expect to be selfish, to have some kind of thought, some kind of brain of empathy or generosity. Even they thought this was good because it hurts people that they disagree with. Even so-called Christians. And I am a Christian. Like, I believe in the word. But for some reason, people are so delusional and disillusioned that they don't even make the connection between Jesus, what Jesus stood for, and the opposite of what's happening now. No connection between the Pharisees and the politicians and propaganda machines that are attacking people. No connection between those. The Pharisees who call out sinners even though they sin themselves, and the people who do the same thing to people they don't agree with, like gay people or whatever, bro. Like, it's terrible, bro.